Welcome to Leadership Speaking Radio, episode number 32. Our topic today is authenticity. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Penn, founder of the Leadership Speaking School, disruptor of all things public speaking, and aficionado of speaking from the heart and authentically. This episode is completely different from anything that I've done so far, and I've got a little backstory for you. I've been stood up. Yep, I was scheduled to be on a podcast this afternoon. I got all dressed up in my finest, and I did my warm-up, and everything was ready. In fact, 3 hours of preparation. And 20 minutes before it was supposed to happen, I was told it's not going to happen. So I thought, well, it would be a shame to lose this opportunity to speak on camera and to share my ideas of today with the audience. So why not? Why not take advantage and do this? So this is totally new for me, people. If something goes wrong, so be it. I'll just have to fix it for next time. For now, I'm going with the flow. I've got a really interesting topic to share with you. This idea of authenticity. Are you ready? Let's do this. Every episode, you know that I have a word of the day. And obviously, that word is authenticity. Now, I didn't do any research and look this word up before this show, as it's so spontaneous. So I'll give you my own definition of what I feel authenticity means. Here it is. To be yourself. To show up in your true colors and to be okay with that. That's my Dr. Laura Penn definition of authenticity. And I want to use this episode to unpack why this is such an important topic for you to understand, for you to get your head around, and for you to learn how to dance with when you are speaking in front of audiences. The reason I came to this idea as a topic for a podcast episode is a story, and here it goes. Last week, I was contacted by a very energetic young woman on LinkedIn who wrote to me in very flattering words, something like, "Dear Dr. Penn, your profile fits what we're looking for. We are a magazine, lifestyle business magazine, and we are looking for women to watch in 2021. You will have a 2-page cover spread, pictures, professional, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah." Now, what normal person's ego would not be piqued by a pitch like that? And my ego was no exception. In fact, I needed some love of my ego that week. And this came at the right time, at the right place. So, of course, I was like, yeah, okay, let's check it out. So we had an online meeting. And she was as nice as, I expected her to be. And then I was introduced to her colleague who was a sales officer. And I thought, what does this have to do with sales? Well, I'm not buying anything. In fact, I'm, giving you some good, juicy detail here. Yeah, well, things kind of wound out of control, as you can imagine. And I lost my interest in this topic because the next thing I'm being told is, if you pay us $1,500, you will have this and this and this and this. And I was like, okay, this is some bullshit. Thank you, but no thank you. Why did I say no thank you? Well, first of all, that's not me. I'm not made like that. Like, I'm going to earn that 2-page spread. One day it will happen. I'm waiting for that day. I felt kind of gross afterwards. I thought, you mean you can buy this? You can buy this kind of, look at me-ness? You can buy the attention? Well, it doesn't surprise me, but it kind of still does because I'm kind of disgusted by that. That's not the world I want to live in. I want to see real people who have earned that 2-page spread. I want to see authenticity. Okay, so this is where this theme comes to me for this week. Like, I'm all over this topic because I'm still recovering from my ego being like sandblasted. But I needed that because it really reminds me of how significant it is to work from a place of truth, to unpack your true self, to be authentic. So here's what I want to give you. I want to talk about how you can show up in your own authenticity, how you can switch it on. Here's where you need to begin. To understand authenticity and your relationship to it, it can go either one of two ways. One, you have your authenticity, that is, your true colors, your essence, your being. You've got all of those beautiful things in a lockdown box, and nobody can open it because of maybe culture or habit or self-esteem or whatever things have caused you to put that precious authenticity of yours in that lockbox. Whatever those reasons are, they're locked in there. That's one version of authenticity that could be true for you. You're not showing up as your true self. And let me tell you that the way you know this, the way you have this awareness is the following. When you find yourself in a conversation with one person or many people, in, a public speaking scenario, whatever that conversation is. And if this happens to you, that laugh, that fear grin, those shoulders that go up with you becoming smaller and shrinking yourself, then you've got your authenticity in lockdown. Okay? That's how you know that is your status quo. Now, on the other side of authenticity, if you know that you are serving it, if you know that you are in it truly, madly, and deeply, then it feels good when you're speaking to that one person or to those many people. It feels freaking good because your body is got endorphin nirvana happening in it. You've got serotonin and all those other amazing hormones that make you feel good coursing through your bloodstream. Telling your brain, do more of this. This feels good. Do more of this. Yes, yes. So if that feeling of pleasure and just kind of a general warm well-being essence is coming out when you're speaking in front of other people, then your authenticity is showing up. Yeah. And I love the awareness of the amazing students that I have the privilege to work with in Leadership Speaking Core, my 5-day freaking crazy transformational intense cowabunga. I know that the work that I have done with them, on them, through them for that week, I know that it's come to fruition when they come and say, hey, I didn't know it could feel so good to speak in front of audiences. So when they say that to me, I'm thinking, ding, 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 ding. Got it. They opened those doors of their authenticity and now they're flowing freely. And ding, 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 ding. Got it. The work that I've done this week to help them to release these elements has worked. So you need to think to yourself, which one of those versions, which one of those stories about authenticity represent you the best? Are you that person who's got your authenticity in lockdown, the person, and you know you're not living your best life? And you know that after those interactions and conversations, you feel empty. You might even feel a little bit dirty. You're not living in your true self and you know it. Or are you that person who's like, yes, give me more. Let me do this as much as possible. You become a speaking nerd like me. Yeah, I do it because of the natural high. That's one of the reasons. Yeah, all kidding aside, like that is one of the reasons I love this thing because it makes me feel good. I love speaking in front of audiences because of that high and lots of other reasons. But those are other topics for other podcast episodes. Do you feel what I'm saying? So you have to identify which of those two you are. That's step number 1. Now, step number 2, especially if you are in the lockbox version of this story, you need to get to courage. You need to travel there. And the path or the journey to courage, and by that I mean the courage to be yourself, the courage to flick the switch and say, here I am, look at me, this is my freak flag, and I'm flying it. And I don't care what you think. And this is me, and I love it. All right? To do that is a lot easier said than done. All right? You need to go through the valleys of fear, trepidation, and low self-esteem, right? These are lots of different destinations on your road to courage. Let me talk to you about the valley of fear. This is a top, 5 reason for why people loathe and dread public speaking. Because of fear. And you might have heard, some version of the studies or the statistics that say that, people fear public speaking more than they fear death. Okay? It's real. So how do you transcend that? How do you get around or above or below that place of fear? Well, here's a couple of important golden nuggets for you to register. Number 1, and this is coming from me when I say it this way. If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. And those are not my words. Those are Ben Franklin's words. And I quote him just about every day with that quote. If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. You're going to have so much fear and it's going to be uncontrollable. You can't even stand it. There's going to be so much fear if you're unprepared for your speaking opportunity. Okay? So that's number 1. Let's get that out of the way. Get your act together, prepare yourself so that you can lean into your level of comfort, to your level of rehearsal. You see? Does that make sense? That's said and done. You've heard me talk about this before. Another element related to fear is that, it's the unknown. What does it feel like to show up as my authentic self? I don't know how to do that. And here you take baby steps. Maybe one day you wear, different colored socks and see how that goes for you. See if, the world stops turning or you lose your job. Maybe another day you do something else about your appearance that just, pushes your comfort zone a little bit about you showing up as your authentic self. Maybe another day you do something in your speaking using one of the tools from the leadership speaking toolbox, like pausing longer because you're actually thinking about something and you don't want to speak a mile a minute. That's not who you really are. You take your time when someone says something. Maybe you pause and see that it's okay. So you need to take these little baby steps, these little trials and triumphs, which build up to you reaching courage. And the more you get the positive feedback, both literal feedback and the nonverbal feedback, that these things that you're doing are okay, keep pushing the edges. Go to the edge of your comfort zone and see what happens, because that's where the real living starts, on the edge of your comfort zone. That's where you're feeling those endorphins and the serotonin. So that is my invitation to you. Push at those edges. Get to the other side of that and experience the bliss of what it feels like to take those baby steps and then reach the destination of, wow, this is okay. I can do this. And then the third idea about authenticity and fear of showing up as your authentic self is the following. Some wisdom that I have received from my guru a couple of months back. I was talking to her about fear. And she said to me this. She said, the opposite of fear is trust. I just want that to settle into your hearts and minds for a minute. How simple that sounds. The opposite of fear is trust. Wow. So I just let that enter my cells, every single one of them in my body. And I stayed with that information for a while, a couple of weeks, chewing it over, thinking about it. Trust. So how does this work related to showing up as your authentic self? Trust. Trust that you are enough. Trust that you know what you are talking about, probably better than most people on this planet. Trust that the worst thing that can happen is not so bad, whatever that is. So here's a mindset shift that you need to go through. Here's a disruption that needs to happen for yourself so that you flip fear on its ugly face. And on the other side of that flipped fear is the land of trust. And you're leaning into the land of trust, believing that you're enough, believing that it's going to be okay, believing that you know. And you see, this is a really important step, folks. I'm talking about evolution. I'm talking about toggling yourself up to the highest levels of leadership speaking when you do this. That's so juicy. So these are some pretty big takeaways that I'm just putting into your hemisphere right now. I want you to really think about what I've said about authenticity. I want you to think about who you are as a speaker. Are you the person? Or are you the here I am, look at me person? And I'm okay with that. Serotonin person. And when it comes to, the other pieces of this journey, what are those valleys? Where are you? Are you in the land of fear? And how are you going to handle it? Are you going to try trust, right? So this is where you do the work. I want to remind you, like I do in most of the episodes on Leadership Speaking Radio, that there is no part of this work that is easy, that is a hack, or that is a silver bullet. Do you hear me? I'm not talking about anything here that is simple. And that reminds me of a riff that I need to do right now. I'm just so tired of it. I've got to say this. I'm kind of, going on a tangent here, but hear me out. I am so tired of people wanting tips and techniques. I say, WTF, more tips and techniques. Tips and techniques, people, are like that, crinkly part of the onion. You don't even eat that shit. All right, you put it in the garbage can. When you hack the onion up, you don't use that to consume. That is what tips and techniques are to me, even though I talk about them a lot. Okay, but this is my authentic take on what I feel about them. They are superficial. They are just the thinnest skin. They're this oh yeah, let me fast food. Let me give it. No, okay. Real work is required. Get into the middle of that onion. That's what I'm talking about in this episode. That's the quality of what I'm talking about. These elements are not tips and techniques. These elements are inside out work. Start from the inside, and that migrates to the outside. And then you're showing up as the best version of yourself. I hope you feel that, because I feel that so intensely. Don't rely on the small, shrimpy tips and techniques stuff. You can't do real work as a speaker that way. You got to go inside and start with yourself. So that's my invitation to you. I hope you've enjoyed this weird hybrid version of this podcast. It's felt kind of fun to do it. And I'd love to hear what you think about this method. Do you like this? Should I keep doing this? Or do you just want my audio? Either way, I want to love you up with these podcasts. We are still living in a time of great craziness. And when I started this podcast series back in March of 2020, the peak of, COVID starting, my intention was to love you up and to help to serve you in this time of craziness and disruption. And my intention is still the same. I want to love you up with every episode. I want you to do this work, and I want you to show up as a community of leadership speakers who are making the world a better place, one speech at a time. All right? You take care of yourselves, and take care of others, and do this work, and let me know how it goes. I look forward to bringing you another episode next time. Until then, ciao.